All right, I guess we can get underway. At this time, I would welcome you to the Lopatcong Township Planning Board meeting of April 2021. At this time, I would invite you to join us in a silent moment of prayer, followed immediately by the oath of allegiance to the flag of our country. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm required to state that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided, indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Ledger and the Express Times, and by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Beth, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, members Clymer, Coyle, Pryor.
Here.
Sampson.
Here.
Weeks. Mayor Mengucci.
Here.
Vice Chairman Fishback.
Here.
Chairman Van Vliet.
Here. Okay, now we've got a couple of one major change in the agenda. NFI Real Estate will not be coming before the board this evening. They've requested I call it a postponement. They're wanting an adjournment. I'll defer to Mr. Bryce on the difference between those two. I mean, we haven't started the meeting, so I can't adjourn the meeting. So I would call it a postponement for indefinitely. I can't promise that we're going to have the room for them at the May meeting. I don't know what the schedule is going to be at that time, so I don't want to lock us into having to have them go through another process. So,
Chair, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to ask, I think it might be Beth that's not muted. Beth, if you can mute, or everybody else can mute, because there's a lot of feedback here. In any event, Chairman, the nomenclature I don't think really matters. The applicant and Mr. Peck, I can see, is appearing. They want to, we can call it a continuance, but they did publish for notice, so they'd like to have the hearing carried to at least the next month, with carrying the notice as well, and that would just simply require a motion of the board to grant.
Okay, I have no objection to that. Can I have a motion to carry the meeting and carry the notice for into the next time we meet?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Okay, roll call, Beth, please.
Yes, members Pryor.
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fishback.
Yes.
Chairman Van Vliet.
Yes.
Okay, and this is just for the public's benefit, who's ever appeared today. You will not get further notice of the hearing, so you have to check back at this hearing next month because the notice was carried. So this is your continuation of notice, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Peck. You agree to that?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We'll see you next month.
Okay, so hopefully, thank you.
Well, I'll make an appearance regardless. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Take
you very
care.
much. All right, the next order of business is the Bridge Development Partners LLC, Block 99, Lot 6, subdivision and site plan completeness. Just let me explain to the public a little bit that we're not going to be opening this to any public comment because it's strictly a board process that we go through to deem their application. We're not deeming anything as of the actual construction of it or whatever else might come up. It's just that they have completed to our satisfaction the checklist that Lopatcong requires. So, Mr. Bryce, do you have anything?
Chairman, I think that that's an adequate summary. Again, this is just a completeness determination before the board as to whether or not the application materials submitted by the applicant are sufficient for the board, whether there's any waivers that the board wants to grant for submission purposes, and it would allow, if complete, the application to be scheduled for hearing.
Okay. Is the applicant's representative present?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you can hear me, my name is Arvin Ital. I'm attorney at law. I represent the applicant before the planning board this evening. I'm sorry, my voice is a little weak. I'll try to keep it up if you can hear me.
We can hear you fine.
And Mr. Chairman, would you like me to just go over what we have for as your attorneys advised you, this is a completeness hearing only, and I'm sure that the board is well aware of its duties under the municipal land use law for determination of completeness. And as your attorney has indicated to you, and as you yourself have stated, this is not an approval or a disapproval of the application, but only to determine whether the items that were submitted meet the standards of the municipal land use law and the local ordinance in terms of completeness. There are a number of checklist items that your engineer, and I'm going to refer to an April 23rd, 2021 completeness letter that Mr. Sturbins issued to the board and to the applicant, where there are 4 items, checklist items 12, 30, 36, and 60 that he has deemed to be needing to be addressed. I will state that item 30 and 36, I have our engineer, by the way, on the line as well, and that's Mr. Brett Skapanis. And if I can have him unmute as well. And while he's unmuting, item 30 and 36, Mr. Skapanis will confirm that those items have actually been provided to Mr. Sturbins. And if Mr. Sturbins is on the line, perhaps he can confirm that. So we don't believe that those 2 items warrant a further review by the board in terms of determining whether there's a waiver that's required. Items 12 and 60, I'll have our engineer address. We believe that these are technical items, one of which can be provided as a resolution of completion item, and the second being the letter of interpretation, which we're waiting for an outside agency to provide. However, we do show the delineation on the site plan itself. And Brett, if you're on the line, if you can address items 12 and 60 after you quickly confirm that I have not misled the board with items 30 and 36. And if I have, it was inadvertent, I assure you. I want you to make sure that you straighten me out and inform the board what the truth is.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Brett Skapanis with Dynamic Engineering Consultants. Yes, Arvin, you are correct. Item number 30 and 36, we provided a 1-of-1 exhibit plan to Mr. Sturbins and the board. It was provided yesterday to illustrate what was requested in Mr. Sturbins' letter, which is to show the proposed driveway from the adjacent property into our site and the future utility and access easement that was depicted on plans for that property running through our site. We have depicted both those items on that one-page plan and made that submission. With respect to items 12 and 60, I would consider or ask for temporary waivers for those, as Mr. Anthol noted, one of which would potentially be a condition of approval. It would be a letter of interpretation to the NJDEP. We're in the process of making that submission, and certainly if we do receive it prior to any approval by the board, we would submit it prior to any resolution of approval. So as soon as we get it, we'll submit it. And then with respect to the item number 12, which is minimum setback distances to several features on the site, we again ask for a temporary waiver on that, and as part of any future resubmission of plans, we will certainly note all those items on there on the plan set.
And Brett, before you, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off if you were about to say something.
Oh, go ahead, please.
And Brett, thank you. Before we sum this up, checklist item 37, Mr. Sturbins has indicated was also an item that we're saying is not applicable to us, and therefore we didn't provide it. And if you could just inform the board of why that's in fact not applicable.
Yeah, we indicated that it was not applicable because we were not aware of any dedications either to the county or the township that are necessary. Now, obviously, we need to go through the review process, both with the town and the county more formally. So if there is a need for a dedication of some sort, we obviously will work with either agency, either the town or the county, to incorporate that dedication, whatever it may be, into our plan set.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
oh, can you hear me?
yes, I can, Joe.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Skrepinitz. The attorney mentioned checklist item 12 being a resolution item. I'm not sure what he meant by that. I don't think it's a condition. If this gets approval, I don't see this condition of approval. I would hope that would be available when the hearing starts. And everything else, I think, is as Mr. Skrepinitz said. But I do think the lines and so on should be available when the hearing starts. And I think we can temporarily waive that without a problem.
We're okay with that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, I did, my writing on a little legal pad was scrunched together. So actually I was referring to checklist item 60 as being the one that I wanted to say was a checklist type item if the board were to approve it. Unfortunately, I saw it with checklist item 12, which was above that. It did not, unintentional, did not mean to mislead the board as to what my intentions or the position of the applicants were.
Okay. Mr. Bryce, do you have any further comment on it?
No, I do not, Chairman. I think that adequately sums up the completeness submission.
Okay. Adam, I'll refer to you. Do you have any further comment on it?
Well, I could just speak to, since Mr. Sturbins isn't on this evening, I'm, representing the Township Engineer's Office and the board engineer at this hearing. So I can speak to completeness checklist items 30 and 36 in our letter, that we had requested that the plans submitted by Bridge Development Partners indicate the proposed driveway for the NFI site. And basically what we've received, and the board has also received, I believe Beth received that this morning, does depict that. It's kind of the two plans are overlaid. So that can be something that's discussed in the future during the hearing process in terms of coordinating those plans and making sure that everything kind of agrees as the project goes forward, projects potentially go forward. That's all I
George?
have.
Oh, thank you. George, do you have any comment on this?
No, my letter deals primarily with variances and design waivers that will be pending as this application goes forward, at least as we see it now. There are several items in the letter that I asked the applicant to consider, but they do not go to completeness. And that deals with providing some cross sections through the landscaped area and through the building, so that the board can get a better feeling of how well the building is screened from the adjacent residential areas. And also requested that they produce a little bit of a landscape plan that breaks out the various elements of our code and gives us an actual physical count of the plant material that's in each of the areas, so that we can determine whether or not they need variances to our design landscaping. It appears at the first review that there would be several variances required, but quite frankly, I'm more than willing to let the applicant count and show me how they got their numbers, and we'll go from there. But as I say, the items in my letter are not specific to completeness, and they can be handled as the plan progresses in front of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Ethelnall. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Are you in agreement with that?
We are.
Do any of the board members have questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to deem the application complete. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Beth, roll call, please.
Yes. Members Pryor,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Mayor Mengucci,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fishback,
Yes.
and Chairman Van Vliet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You
Mr.
have
Chairman,
completion, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, before they leave, I do have a suggestion. The Mazer letter, I still call him Mazer, was talking about the professionals get together, giving the interest in this application and the litigation that's gone on. I would just as much avoid that. I'd like to have everything on the record. I think Mazer writes a thorough review. The applicant gives a thorough response, and I would just as much have everything on the record, and I'd like to avoid any offline meetings. That's my opinion.
I tend to agree with you with the situation on these applications as it occurs now. We already have legal actions against us for a lot of the things. So I would rather have everything, above board, right? Have everything out in the open. So.
Chairman, I would just add that sometimes the engineers need to communicate about technical reviewing that may not implicate the merits of the overall application. It's just simply clarification. Not sure if the discussion is to go that far.
Well, Mr. Price, sometimes guidance is given, and the guidance may be correct, may be incorrect. It hasn't been past the board. Personally, I'd rather keep that to a minimum.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Hearing none. I guess that's about the end of the business. So I don't think we.
Gary,
Yes.
you did not approve the minutes for March 25th.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Way down on the bottom of the page. Okay, that's under old business. We'll move on to old business. Does everyone received a copy of the March 24th, 2021 minutes? Do you have any comments, questions, revisions? Okay, in that case, hearing none, I will call for a voice vote. Is all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying yes?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any objections?
I'll have to abstain, Gary. I did not attend the meeting.
Okay, and we have one abstention. So the meetings will stand as published then. And at this point, we will open up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to ask any questions of the board?
Gary?
Yes, Mr. Betts.
Yes, you mentioned that the one portion of this planning board meeting is going to be held next month, pushed off till next month. Does that mean it will still be the fourth Wednesday of the month, or could there be a meeting prior to that time?
No, it'll be the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Be our regularly scheduled meeting.
All right.
Anyone else from the public?
Just a clarification, Mr. Chairman, to speak to Mr. Pryor's comment and request. Joe, are you specifically referring to our conclusion in our report referring to the NFI application?
No.
That-
No, it's general. There's a lot of interest in this,
Okay,
and I would just as much have it all conducted
okay,
as
because what,
publicly as possible.
okay, what our recommendation to the board was that prior to the hearing being held on that application, that we meet with the engineer for the NFI real estate developer and discuss the technical issues that we raised so that they can address those prior to the hearing. Would you like us not to do that meeting?
I would like you not to.
Okay, that's specifically, okay.
Yeah.
It's very good. Then I will,
And this
you know,
isn't a reflection on anyone. These are large applications. There's tremendous interest. I want to just avoid any question.
okay. Right, I mean, as you know, our intention is never to skirt any regulation or rules. We're trying to, you know, get them more in compliance than what they are now. So, but if you prefer that we do not do that, then we will not do that. And we will discuss the technical issues at the hearing next month.
You can give written guidance, just like you do in your review letter.
Right, but not have a sit
want it
down.
all on the record.
Right, but not have a sit down.
Right.
Okay,
These applicants are two separate applicants.
Correct.
And I don't want to see anything where somebody's brokering something back and forth here without the board knowing about it.
It's an excellent point, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay. I have nothing else. Do the boards have anything else? Well, I thank everyone tonight for attending, and
Gary,
we'll see where we're going to go for the next meeting.
could I ask one question?
Certainly.
As to both separate issues, developments, will they both be heard at the regular meeting next month?
That's why I brought up the situation about whether it was an adjournment or a delay, only because of the fact that because of the volume of information we're going to go through, I don't think we can hear both of those applicants in the same night. We still have the restriction of finishing the meetings about 10 o'clock.
Yes.
So we don't get into the 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning situations again. And that's the reason behind I'm doing this, is that I'd like to manage the time. I don't know which one's going to be completed first or where we're going. So, until that becomes more relevant, I don't know which one's going to get which slot on what month. So it's a matter of scheduling for the planning board.
So there will only be one meeting next month, or possibly there will be two.
No, we won't have two meetings. One will be for the regular meeting, scheduled meeting for the planning board for the month of May.
Yes.
And then if there's anything to be carried over, or we won't, which one we're going to hear in May, if any. The next one, when that's complete, then we'll come into the next one will be up, but they will all be at the regular meetings of the planning board.
Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate you letting me stick in there at the end. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, anyone else? If not, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll say.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any negatives? Hearing none, no abstentions. The meeting's adjourned.